already. How are you doing today? So today is all about how to motivate your child. How to motivate your child academically, and we have a guest in the studio. We have a guest in the house. So we are just waiting for her to join in a few minutes and we'll get started. It's about how to motivate your child. One of the reasons children struggle in school. Welcome, ma. Welcome. It's good to have you here with us, ma. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, ma? Can you hear
I can
me?
hear you.
Okay,
I
thank you
can hear you.
so
Good
much,
afternoon,
ma.
madam.
Thank you. Thank you. So everyone, if you are joining,
You're
welcome to
welcome.
the okay. So to the visionary parents with Enemy Orebo, today is all about how to motivate your child, how to motivate your child. Now, if you've been following us this month, you know that all what we are talking about is how to help our children do well in school, how to help them excel in school. That is what we have been doing this month. And today we have a guest in the house. She is an underperforming coach. I don't know if I got it right, which simply means that she comes to your school, she trains your teachers, she trains your students on how to perform, because one of the reasons I have realized that children struggle in school, it's actually because they lack interest. They don't have interest. Is not there. So she's a coach and motivate our
Yes, it's my pleasure, ma'am. Well done.
introduce yourself quickly so that
Well, I am an underachieving student mentor and trainer. Hello, can you hear me? Oh my God.
okay. Thank you. So introduce yourself please so that we can get started. I can, but your background is kind of home front to attend to. Underachieving student coach, which means she's a coach that actually helps students to do better. And also many children they struggle in school. If you're following us this month, you know why children struggle in school. The reason that is responsible for children's academic struggle is lack of motivation or low motivation. It is one major reason. You know, I've listened to very many coaches, motivational coaches.
Stop it, Daddy. Hold on, wait.
You fired on. You need something that will keep you motivated. When you have that thing that will keep you motivated, you are going to excel. You are going to see yourself just going ahead to get things done. You need to have a strong why. And that is it. You see, that motivation is lacking in very many students, very many children. It is why they struggle so much in school. And so today, and she is going to be teaching us all we need to know about how to motivate our children, how to spark up the right interest in them, so that at the end of the day, that issue of lack of motivation rather is dealt with. Okay, we are back now, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Are you there? Are you there with us? Can you hear me? Okay. If you are here, if you can hear me, please let me know you can hear me. If you are in the if you are and all if you are watching us, please let me know you can hear, so that I will know that it is not my network, it is her network or something. Okay, she's back now. Okay, ma. Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, ma. Please go ahead.
Hello.
I can hear you. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you, please.
All right, all right. I was saying that I am an underachievement reversal specialist. And what that means is that when students perform, they perform below their ability. And that's what we call underachievement. Work with such students and help them do better. I'm not sure you hear me, so I'm
I
a
can
bit.
hear you. I can hear you. We
Can
can
you
hear
hear me?
you.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay, did you ask me a question earlier?
No, no, no. I just said you can start now. You can introduce
Okay.
yourself and tell us what you do and all of that.
All right. I had you mention motivation. Motivation is one of the key issues we have with children who underachieve or children who do below their potential. Motivation fuels actions, it fuels emotions. So if a child is not highly motivated, they would usually do poorer than expected. Because it's motivation is very, very complex. Some of the time you may think that what motivates them is praise. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it might be just a teacher who likes them so well, and the student knows it, and it's clear that this teacher likes me. Is sole motivator for your child. So many times when we talk about motivation, sometimes it might even be something deeper. For example, a child may not be as motivated because he has a learning difficulty or even a learning disability. But because you don't know that the child has such a thing, you would think that the child is lazy or dull or something like that. So motivation is very serious. It's a serious thing. So I like the fact that you mentioned motivation, and we might just talk about that if you don't mind.
Okay, that's my question. How do you know that a child, because we have different reasons why children struggle, how do you know that if your child is struggling because they actually lack motivation? How would, as a parent, you know that, oh, my child is struggling because what they lack is motivation?
Well, when they lack motivation, you generally see it as lack of interest. They will not be interested in learning. They'll prefer to be somewhere else. Perhaps they prefer to be playing involve structured learning. So you will see that common, and it will be a consistent thing. Maybe once in a while, whenever it's time to learn, you will see them just show lack of interest. But when it comes to other things, perhaps a learning disability or something that is much more serious, you will see it that it is permanent. Let me explain it again this way. If it is just motivation that is the issue for your child, it is a temporary thing or situational thing. Maybe, for instance, they don't like to read in the mornings, or they don't like to read when they want to play, or they don't want to go to school because of one particular teacher. You will see that something caused it. You will see a situation that affected their interest. But if it's a learning difficulty or a learning disability, you see it as a consistent or even persistent thing that is a bit, in fact, permanent, such that no matter how much they try, the student fails. So if your child is struggling in school, rather, because of motivation, you see it as once in a while thing, and you see it as an on and off interest in school. But if it's due to a permanent issue such as a learning disability or a learning difficulty, you will find out that it is consistent. They try, but because they don't do well, even after they try, they begin to now lose motivation. I hope I didn't confuse you.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
So
If it's a learning
yes,
difficult, if it's learning is difficult, learning struggles, you will see a pattern. You will see a pattern. Their
many parents
struggles.
confuse it. Yes,
You will see the struggles will be there. The patterns will be repeated. But if
Yes.
it's other kind of motivation, maybe there are other things. Sometimes you will see them excited, sometimes you will see them draggy and all of that. So that will show you that, oh, this child lacks motivation, not really because it okay. Thank you. Now there are some children that they are smart when it comes to what is it called, conversations. They are talking, they are smart. You say they are so smart. But when it now comes to academics, you are looking at these children like, excuse me, you can't just place them. The same child who is smart, who is bold, when it now comes to academics, they are so back. So where do you categorize that?
Well, it depends. It depends on the real issue. Sometimes it's because they are overwhelmed. Because education is not a static something. Today they are interested. Tomorrow it's boring. Next tomorrow a teacher makes it fun, and then it's easy for them to cope. But sometimes children tend to be overwhelmed, even with everything, even with all of the fun and whatever it is that the teacher is trying to do. So many times it might be because of overwhelm or even fear of some sort. And sometimes it may just be that the student is having some issues, such as cognitive processing issues. For instance, if a child cannot express him or herself, it's a cognitive processing issue. Call it output. The output of that child, the processing step, cognitive processing step that child has issues in is the output competency. The child is not able to express what he already knows. For instance, if you tell him to explain a particular topic out loud, he may not be able to do that. He may prefer to write it down and so on. So it depends on why. So that's why in my work I like to have specific cases. Each case has their own peculiarity, and because of that, I cannot. It is very hard for us to make prescriptions without specific cases or case scenarios.
Diagnosis. Yeah. Now, this is what I always talk about. In the
Yes,
Visionary Parents
exactly.
Academy, if you are with us, you know that we always talk about the root cause. We cannot talk about, we just don't, we cannot just offer solution from the top, from the surface. We always talk about the root cause because everything is traceable to
Yes,
the root cause. You need to
yes, exactly.
understand the reason behind it. Thank you. And this is brought to you by the Visionary Parents Academy, an academy where parents get together to get empowered to parent the children they have with confidence, with peace of mind, and with a vision. We start by creating our vision because we must parent the child we have. And this month is all about helping our children do better in school, helping our struggling children do. It's not about shouting, beating, or it's not when exam comes, you start telling your child, "Yeah, read your book," or when result comes out, you start remembering how much you paid, all the sacrifices and all of that. No, we believe
Mm.
you putting in the work. I always tell them in the Visionary Parents Academy, as long as you put in the work, you are going to get the result. I have 3 children, and I know that the result I'm getting, it is to the extent of the work I'm putting. So as long as you put in the work, you are going to get results. That is not even negotiable. Thank you so much, Ma. Okay, I
Exactly.
was going to ask, some children, when it comes to homework, they don't like doing homework. When they come back home from school, they would not want to do their homework. What is responsible for that, and what can parents do apart from the yelling, smacking, and beating parents traditionally do? So what can parents do in that regards?
Well, a routine works. A routine that is structured. Many times we prefer to yell. Yelling means that we give instructions, but that is not structured. But the routine does it. For instance, you may have them do the assignment before 7 p.m. However, they do it, what time they do it, you outline it as a structured process so that they don't have excuses. But when you just tell them go and do your homework and they just do it anyhow, you wouldn't be surprised because you did not give them structure. So routine does it most of the time because it helps them become disciplined, and then you won't have to yell much because they know what they're supposed to do.
I agree with you absolutely. When you are not home, you have to growing up, or my father did growing up was reading was like a punishment. You are playing and he wants his peace and quiet. Says you have of you go and pick your book and read. You don't look forward to, how come something that is always coming way on. You are having your fun, enjoyed, we loved, wasn't our friend because it was used as a punishment. That is what routine does. So your children will come to know that okay, there's a specific time to read, and they will look forward to play. After 30 minutes, they are done and gone. I absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now I have another question, please. Okay. I think network, she's having issues with network. We are still talking about how to motivate your children. One of the things, okay, she's back now. Can you hear me? One of the things she
Go ahead.
said is you need to understand your child's struggling needs. Every child has struggling needs, every single child. It is not one cap fits all kind of thing when it comes to parenting, whether academics or anything, every child has their struggles, and sometimes the struggles may surprise you. So to motivate your child, you must learn to understand what your child is struggling with, what their needs are what their needs are really. Okay, I've asked about homework. I was going to ask, how can parents really? I see a lot of homes when it comes to homework. The children are not complain several times, and yelling and nagging and smacking. The parents, teachers also get frustrated. They teach. The child seems not to be getting it, so the parents become frustrated and all of that.
Well, like you mentioned, there are a lot of reasons why children are like that. So it still boils down to the root issue. When you're able to uncover the root issue, then it makes a lot of things easier. If the child is not concentrating or having issues because of some personal issues from home, then you know that you take the solution should be from home. If it's a school issue, perhaps the teacher is not teaching well, then you know the teacher should be the place where you get. I mean, the school should be the place where you get the solution. So it depends on the issue. Can you rephrase the question again, please, so that I can
Okay,
deal with it?
yes, I think it also boils down.
Yeah.
Can motivation okay that person be when the child is struggling so much in class, parents should not push the child to the next class. I believe in that. When a child is struggling, because I saw a result online, the highest the child had was 34, and that 34 was just one subject. Was it 34 or 44? That was 12 and all of that. The child going to GSS2, I think GSS2 going to GSS3. And so someone asked, should this child be promoted? And everybody was like, they should be promoted. We should be giving special teacher. I personally felt that the result was too poor for that child to be promoted. So someone like me, I would recommend repeat that same class. However, I know that if a child is going to repeat the same class in the same school, if the child is going to repeat, they may have issues of friends mocking and all of that, which will affect the child's self-confidence. So how does a parent do that? When your child is repeating a particular parent now help with the child's self-confidence.
Well, I usually recommend that if you are going to repeat your child, especially if it seems as if the the classmates will make fun of that child, then perhaps you should take the child to a new school or a different school for two reasons. One, because of bullying and all that, and making jest of that child. Another is because sometimes when children have to repeat, is because the school is not even doing well. The school is not doing what they're supposed to do. So most of the time, when people tell me about things like this, I tell them that school is probably not doing well. So why not try another school or look out for a better school? You understand? So, but apart from that, many parents have their reasons for wanting their child to repeat, or even many schools have their reasons for wanting a child to repeat. But it still boils down to the fact that a child's understanding of these things is is relative, and they have to consider all of that.
Okay, I quite agree with you. I quite agree that when a child is struggling so much, sometimes it's the school. Because this particular report I saw, this particular I think there's a column where they put average in class and all of that. The child, I think the highest the child got, I think I still have the screenshot in my phone. The highest the child got was about 44 or 34, and it was just one subject. I think 30, 44. Then the next highest subject was 34, and I think 34 in about two subjects, and then we had 20, 12, and all of that. And when I looked at the average in the class, I don't think any child in that class got up to, no, they did not get an A, in that class. And then again, you now look at the child's position, the grade. The child had is it 15 over 18? So it simply means that if a child with that kind of a very poor result may had that 15 over 18 or something, it simply means that the school now, there is something fundamentally right wrong. So definitely I'm of the opinion that I agree absolutely. If your child is struggling so much, the grades are not good enough, you should change them. You should change them. That is what I also believe. Okay. I also believe that if a child is struggling, if a child is struggling so much, I believe that the school cannot do so much for a struggling child for obvious reasons. I don't know if it's true or not. Now, this is my own personal belief. If a child is struggling, the school cannot do so much, because if you look at schools, they always rely on the children who are already performing naturally, the children who are naturally gifted. They are the ones they brag about. They are the ones they take for for competitions and other performances and all of that. But when a child is struggling, the teacher has a lot of burden, a lot of work to do. Maybe a teacher has 8 students. Out of that 8 students, they teach 7 subjects a day. They will mark classwork. They will mark homework. They will write what is it for children in primary school. They will write communication books and all of that. A lot of things they will have to do. They will have to prepare their lesson notes. So I believe that it is not really realistic for parents to rely up completely on teachers when their children are struggling. I believe as a parent, when your child is struggling, you don't rely on the teacher. You must stand up and do your own work, because the teacher may not be able to help your child. Except the teacher has, that is actually what I believe. So do you also think, you agree with me, or you believe that teachers can actually help struggling children?
Well, yes, it depends on why they are struggling. If they are struggling because of academics, because of learning resources, then it's fine. Teacher can do that. But if they are struggling because of emotional or uh, motivational related causes, then mostly the parents should oversee it, because some of the times it's a child's emotion. A teacher cannot do much on it. The parents, you know your child, you know what is happening in the house, you know how things are going, you know what could make your child sad. So it depends on why the child is struggling. Honestly, for one or two reasons, we try to make parents see that most of the work is on them. At the same time, there are about three reasons why parents would not want to do much work with a child. And funny enough, those same reasons are the reason why a teacher can do better than a parent. Let me list them briefly. One of the first is what we call tension. When a child is not doing so well, there's a tension in the house. Everybody is on edge. They are beginning to worry. They are beginning to worry about how much money they are spending on school fees, why that money is going to waste, what they can do. They're probably calling a meeting, asking the child why he's not doing so well, comparing the child to another child, and the whole place is filled with tension. Now, some of the time, the tension might not be spoken tension. They may just be wondering what to do with the child and not talk much or not even have a meeting. Child is on edge. The child is wondering what daddy and mommy would do. Would they ask the teacher to begin to flog him more, or begin to discipline him more and all that? So the child is on edge. Everybody is stressed up. Now that comes to the second thing. Everybody is now stressed up. The child is stressed up. He doesn't know what to do next. He doesn't know how to, and some in some instances that stress uh might be fake, because the child does not even, maybe the child is not even motivated. He doesn't even want to go to school, and you're forcing him to go to school. So many of the things that happen with in the home is related to that. Stress and tension. Then lastly, you have strain, emotional strain. Now there's an emotional strain between the parent and the child. There's a strain in their relationship. The parents may not be so friendly with that child. They may begin to give another child more, goodies than that child that is not doing so well. They begin to worry about how to spend extra money on remedial sessions or teacher, lessons and all that. And that can just cause a lot of things. At the end of the day, they may just neglect that child and feel that after all, maybe that's what he wants to do. Maybe he's just too lazy to even, they may feel that the child is depleting their resources. So that all of these things can just cause a wedge. At the same time, these are the same reasons why a teacher can do much work than a parent. Because with the teacher, there is no much tension. A teacher would be with a child from morning till afternoon and go back to his house and not even remember the child that much. A teacher can have less stress with a child because after all, it's not my child. A teacher may not even have such relationship strain, or have a strained relationship with such a child. At the end of the day, you find out that in as much as parents can do a lot, if they don't take out those three things out of the equation, they won't be able to do much. But in such a case, if it seems as if the stress, the strain, and the tension in the home is a lot, then I usually suggest that parents outsource it to a willing teacher. For instance, the class teacher of the child can be called upon, and maybe they pay the teacher some money or something to work with the child on certain areas. You get what I'm trying to say. So that's just it. It depends on the, the peculiar situation in the home. If you really want to help your child and you cannot remove those three factors that can cause you to mess things up, then you will get help from a teacher. Team up with a teacher who can help you, because they don't have those issues that you have. They don't have the stress, there's no tension, and there is no strain in any relationship between the student and the teacher, because the teacher is strictly business and is likely to be more professional.
Okay, I get it. I get it. Yes, she said the teacher too have personal issues that may come in the way. Absolutely, is what I also think. Yes, I get it. As a parent, if you know that, because I've had situations where parents they smack their children, they yell, they are not patient enough with the children during homework. I always say to parents that if you are not
Exactly.
patient with your child during revision, during homework, then you need to outsource that part. You need to outsource it to a teacher who is responsible, a teacher who is capable, because at the end of the day, what we are looking at, I always say that schooling is an economic tool. We can't take that away, because going to school in those days was like you go to school, you get a job. You either learn a skill, you learn a skill, you monetize, you learn a trade, you monetize, you go to school, monetize it to that school. So these days we've come to realize that, see, it is more than going to school and bringing certificate. We have a lot of other skills. In fact, before I came online, before we came on this class, I was putting materials together for our next month. Success skills for our children. And I was telling myself that confidence is definitely a part of it. Our children must be self-confident, because they may have skills, they may have knowledge. If they don't believe in themselves, they will just sit back and be blaming other people. So they must have that confidence, that in their abilities. And it is one of the things we take away from children when we yell at them, when we beat them during homework. Remember, school is an empowerment tool, so economic tool rather. So by the time you are doing homework with your child, you are beating, you are yelling, you are comparing them, you are making them feel they are low dose. they are not good enough, they are failures, you are already killing that confidence in your child. You're already feeling that confidence. So when the child now gets out there, it is time for them to now show up strong. They are not able to show up strong before because you have killed the confidence. So I absolutely agree when she said,
Exactly.
if you cannot take the three things of tension, stress, and strain away from your attending to your child when it comes to academics, please outsource it. Outsource it. Outsource it. Now, this is where learning is super important. It's so important to you that you give yourself, or you just submit yourself for learning, for mentorship in a parenting academy. Because at the end of the day, I was a parent who used to be tensioned. I remember when my kids were toddlers. One day, my son did not do homework well or something. I beat him, shake, they blew black. I will kicked him. Like, it was after that day, I just told myself, really? So, yes, I was like that too, because it is frustrating. The child has gone to school, the teacher has taught the child, you are still back home teaching. The child is not getting it. It can be frustrating. Now, this is where you need to learn to learn. And I want to remind you that visionary parenting open for next year. It's time for yourself and parent confidence. Parents without breaking your child. You want to raise children who are successful. It is where you are stressing now that they need to be successful. You are beating it, shouting it, smacking it, and yelling it away. Then at the end of the day, you sit back and say, after everything I've done, after everything you have done and you have refused to do. So let's go. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ma. When it comes to parenting, I am really super passionate about it.
Yeah,
I'm passionate about it.
I see
Because
that.
parents don't understand, they don't get it. So it kind of breaks my heart. Okay, I've just talked about that. The next thing I want to ask Ma is let's talk about temperament. Does temperament come in the way of um how do I ask this question now? I actually wrote these questions down, so I'm looking for the one that actually talks about temperament. What role does temperament play or personality play in how a child responds to academics and motivation?
Well,
I don't know if not everybody believes in temperament. People think, oh, temperament, yeah.
yes, I understand
I'm
that.
strongly. I have a book on temperament,
Yes,
yes.
yes. Personality and temperament, right? They play a
Yes.
very very big role in education, in learning specifically. You see, when you see them cholerics and sanguines, they are energetic in nature. They love action, they love playing, they love fun things. Because of that, the kind of learning that you want to give them has to be in that direction. It has to be full of fun, it has to be action oriented, it has to be, packed with energetic things for them to do. So it really plays a lot in how they learn. And that's why we call them process oriented learners, because they like the process, they like the fun, they like the journey of learning, but they may not necessarily like the destination. They may not like the fact that they will have grades at the end of the day, that they may be tested at the end of the whole session. They want to enjoy the whole thing. But the moment to say it's time for classwork, they begin to, change direction and begin to worry about how they are going to survive that. Now, the melancholics and the phlegmatics, right? Those ones are a bit calmer. They don't really care for the action and the many energy, whatever that you want to put them through. So most times they tend to be mastery oriented because they are calm, because they value understanding that particular topic. So you see them pay more attention, they'll be less impulsive, they'll ask deep questions, and they value growth, they value understanding and mastery. So at the end of the day, if you look closely as a parent, if you have children who fall into either of these categories, you will see that there is a lot of work to do, especially if you've been, you know, trying to teach them the same way, or maybe they have teachers that teach them the same way. It doesn't work that way. So personality, in fact, it does a lot in learning. In fact, it contributes so much in learning, and it can really determine how much a child learns and how well they can explain what they learned, or even put it to use, apply it later, say in tests, in exams, or even in other applications, you know, maybe in the future.
Thank you. Can you still hear me, ma? Okay, thank you so much.
I can hear you.
Something. Very many schools, they don't train their teachers,
Mm,
even the ones that train their teachers, because of resources and all of that, they don't cover a lot of places. So some teachers, they actually lack basic knowledge. And I don't know, I didn't go to a teachers training school in Nigeria, so I don't know how much teachers are actually trained. But I know that even with BSc teaching and all of that, I went to school. I never did anything. My first degree, nothing like teachers training and all of that. And because of there don't drop jobs out there, it's easy for me to just pick a teaching job. That's the easiest job. So many people have that, and yet schools are not really training. So you see teachers, some parents, they are even more knowledgeable in some certain things. Like my son, the class teacher, the school, some teachers resigned, so they have some teachers. So the first day of resumption, he came back from school. Is melancholic. If you know about them a grade, you know that they are this kind of pet. My second son, rather, have three kids, two boys and a girl. He is on his 8 years old. He's a perfect child. A kind of child who just a boy of 8 years, but he just likes to follow process. Tell me the children in this class misbehave as his parents, and I will tell you what happened, and I'll tell you my son did not do this thing, and I will beat my chest for it, and I will go once he tells me he did not do it, I will take him to the you know. So he came back from school. They gave them a test to write from assignment. He should write from number 10,000 to 20,000. And this boy was bent on doing it. He was crying. He slept off. He woke up. He was crying. The following morning, he woke up. No, all the things I said to him, I told him it was a mistake. He said it was not a mistake. It was what the teacher asked them to write. I said, teacher cannot ask you to write from 10,000 to 20,000. Teacher, kikilode, kikilode, 10,000 to
it's a lot of
20,000
work.
in one week. Dragging it to the following day, 10,980, something like that. I had to literally go and I got to the following day, and I was not telling the teacher, asking the woman, the young lady, like, are you serious right now? You should write 10,000 to 20,000 in one day. What is happening? She engaged them, even if they were going to be out through to do. So if you are telling a, because I was telling my daughter, for example, you know some children who are very active, that note taking, taking important, writing key points may actually help them contain those energy of they want to play and all of that. But some teachers will say, so how does a parent who has teacher, I've been teaching for for the past 100 years. Meanwhile, they still don't understand things. You think network is freezing her? Called temperament.
Well, I
Oh, it's my network that is cracking. It was
no,
your network. It's
yes,
my
your network
network
is
that
a
was
bit, it's
cracking.
cracking a bit. Those I can hear a bit, but it's just cracking
Okay.
too. So, well, personally, if I have a teacher like that, someone who teaches my child that wouldn't let me say what I want to say or what I have to say that can help him do his job better, I would personally take I would take the situation, the whole thing to the school head or maybe the school owner. They are much more likely to listen because it's their business. And most times, because they don't want to lose a customer, they will listen to you, and then once you are done, they will call the teacher to order. So that's what I would normally do. And most times, even I prefer to go and meet such a person before even talking to the teacher. Teachers have their way of making you feel as if you are trying to do their work for them. So I don't worry with such people. I go to
Yeah.
the person. In fact, even in life generally, you go to the person that can make the decisions. You don't go to that person that is, the that somebody else will make the decision for. You go to the decision maker. So personally, I would take the whole case to the
Yeah.
decision maker, the school owner or the school head or somebody, and tender my case. Of course, in a way that is not seeming as if I want them to throw the teacher out or
Fire. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I get you. Thank you. Thank you. Because teachers, I know that they need to learn. They need to upgrade. Very many
Mm.
people just got into the teaching profession because, oh, there are no other jobs and all of that. And so,
Yes.
and very many schools, we have 1,000,001 schools everywhere. So very many schools, they don't have the resources to train. And I always feel that sometimes training doesn't even take too much. Doesn't take too much. But many schools, they are not even open. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Do you think there's any time that is justified to this by this let a child not learn it can be a don't do their child clean, we are flogging because it's misbehaving. Single thing that does not meet our expectations as parents is misbehavior. Every a child does thing is misbehaving.
It boils down to connecting with the child. Many parents are not, they do not connect with their child enough to know when a misbehavior is a message and when it is just a misbehavior. Sometimes when a child misbehaves, they're trying to pass a message across. Child doesn't do it well. Many times it's a message that child has some incompetencies in that particular chore. You understand? So many times it's just, if you see it as a message, we would decode that message and help that child. But many times we just see it as the child is being nonchalant or the child is being stubborn or trying to prove that they can do whatever they like and all that. So most times, if you can see that their behaviors is a message, we can see through them and help them do better because their brain is not yet developed yet. Until a child becomes an adult, they cannot be an adult, no matter how much they try. So they will keep growing, they will keep learning. The experiences that they have will keep refining them. And as they become more refined, they will do. But right now that they are still children, it is okay that they are acting like children. And of course, once in a while, when they behave like children, we can see it as a message and use that message to help them become better. But if we look at it as something else, then of course we'll miss the whole point.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to ask, having worked with underachieving students for a while, what are the reasons you can say underachieve? What are the reasons you have spotted that, okay, these are the reasons, different reasons responsible for underachievement in children?
Hmm. That's a big one there. Well, let me start by saying that underachievement is when a child does poorly on purpose. And sometimes we say it is when a child does poorer than expected. Those are two different things sometimes. Sometimes a child does poorly on purpose because I just want, let me
Sorry,
just do
come
whatever I
again.
have to
Poorly
do and
what?
just,
Okay,
yes,
poorly
on
on purpose.
purpose. Sometimes the child does poorly on purpose, and sometimes they do poorer than our expectations. It's not the same thing, though both of them qualify as the meaning of underachievement. Now, in the first instance, when the child does poorly on purpose, it's usually due to what we call emotional and motivational issues. Maybe the child is not motivated enough. Maybe the child has some emotional issues that is causing them to do poorly on purpose. For instance, a child that is hungry, that goes to school hungry, or that has very few resources, the child is not motivated enough. There's no amount of motivation you want to give that child. If you do not tackle that particular area that child has issues in, the child will gladly do poorly on purpose. You understand? I know a parent, a banker, in fact, she works so hard, she leaves home very early in the morning. Her first son was doing so well, and then suddenly he stopped doing well. The issue. When he was questioned, he said because he doesn't like how she doesn't get to see him in the morning. So he began to do less in school. He began to fail more because he wanted to get his mother's attention. So you understand. So he was doing poorly on purpose. Now, when you say underachievement is doing poorly because they are doing based on lower than expectation, that's a different thing entirely, even though it can be tied to the first one. Let me explain it that way. Sometimes we tend to have higher expectations of our children. We tend to want them to do way better than they are doing, but their capacity is not in line with our expectations. Sometimes our expectation is quite okay, it's quite in line with their abilities, but for one or two reasons, say they don't have a qualified teacher that will walk them through it, they don't have the right environment, they don't have the right structure, we don't give them the right resources, they don't have routines, sometimes we even nag them, it can make them do poorer than our expectations. So it all depends on the root issue. But basically, there are three things that can cause a child to underachieve: motivation and emotional issues, and factors concerned with how they learn. If a child does not learn right, perhaps the teacher is not good enough, is not qualified enough, the school the child attends is not good enough, it's not advanced, it's not a great school, then the child will likely underachieve. And then sometimes we have what we call undiagnosed learning disability. When a child has a learning disability, it can cause them to underachieve too, especially if it is undiagnosed. What I mean by undiagnosed is that the child has a problem, has a learning disability, but you've not diagnosed it. When you don't diagnose it, that means you don't even have drug for it. You don't even have any intervention for it. So most times it causes the child to underachieve because there's no intervention. Just like somebody that has a headache and you've not provided paracetamol or anything, that headache is still there. And no matter how much you try, the child can be trying to read, but the headache is still there. So an undiagnosed learning disability can also cause a child to underachieve. There's also something we call cognitive processing issue. That's the thinking part of the brain, the child's ability to think through what he has learned, or to even input what he has learned, process it, store it, and apply it. There's something wrong with it. So it depends on the peculiar situation around the child. But basically, three things determine, or cause a child to underachieve: their emotions, their motivation, and the learning sources or learning resources that are used to teach the child.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You said you mentioned things. The question I asked was, what are the things from your work experience and all of that? What are the issues that actually make children struggle? And you said motivation, lack of motivation, emotional issues, learning factors, that's the learning resources not available, cognitive processes,
Yeah.
that should be I was going to look for a term for it. A regular term, executive functioning skills. Yes, not
Yes,
able to
exactly.
cognitive processes. Yes. Then undiagnosed disability or learning difficulty. Thank you so much. So are five issues. Now, my next question is: how do you know when your child is struggling with each of them? How do you know that okay, your child issue is issues, that's why they are falling back in school, or the school does not have enough resources for them to learn, or they have learning disabilities, or their executive functioning skills they are not in process, they are not good enough, that's why they are struggling. So because again, my concern is whenever a child is struggling in school, it is misbehaving. Hi, it is misbehaving. I remember a friend's daughter. One day she went to school to collect her results, her report card. She got to the school and the report card was postponed. The day of the collection was postponed to another day. And then she went back home and wrote in her diary, why did my school move the beating day to next week? They should have just given me my result. Let me receive my beating today and have it done with. Now
Hmm.
I'll have to move my
Can you
beating to, this is a young girl and she was really, really broken. She was for more than one happy, she was miserable. We don't know what was happening until the mom saw her diary one day and the woman was heartbroken. That was how she reached out to me to say, see what happened. So because misbehavior. So if you don't get setting grades, it's time and I beat you, which they know why their children struggle. If the parents identify the reason.
well the way to identify it is not as straightforward as that, but let me just try, in a way that will not confuse parents. you know when a child has lack of motivation, there is a lack of interest in learning. Generally, you see that this child is open to learning. Motivational issues are issues that are related to the child's psychological state of mind. You understand? Now, in a way that affects how they take in learning or their reason for taking in learning. Now, what happens is that the child's reason for learning is messed up when a child has motivational issues. For instance, the child might want to learn because it's just fun, but when it becomes something serious, the child is not interested. You understand? A child who is who has motivational issues. You just see that the child has a different reason for learning. Perhaps he wants to go to school because of his. But when it comes to the fact that exam time is coming and they have to do exams, no, that interest is not there. So motivational issues are situational. They tend to be a bit all over the place because the child's lack of interest is personal. You may not be able to understand it quite well except you look deeply. Now, emotional issues are also related to the psychological state of the child, but they are more like issues that are about their feelings than about their what do I call it now? Their reason for doing that thing. You know how a child feel? Are they afraid? Are they fearful of a particular teacher? Are they excited about school? Those are emotional issues. Do you understand? So there are two different things, but we tend to put them together: motivational and emotional uh, factors. Now, learning strategies or learning resources. Learning strategy is one, learning resources is one. For instance, if a teacher is unqualified, that's a learning resource because through that teacher, that learning was got, right? So if the teacher is unqualified, that's a learning resource. Now, the strategies the teacher used to teach the child, is the teacher using the right strategies? Are they doing it well? Are they teaching the child in a manner that the child would understand? Are they considering the child's personality? Those are learning strategies. So most of the times, you find out that emotional and motivational issues issues that you gladly see all over the place, because of course they are very common issues, but you may not notice it if you don't care. You have to care enough to see them. But the other issues, for instance, if a teacher is not teaching that child well, you will likely see it. Maybe they give the child an assignment, like you said, they said they should write 10,000 to 20,000. You will gladly see that it is too much, you know. So it depends on how connected you are with the child for you to see the emotional and motivational uh, factors. Now, if a child has cognitive processing issues, it means that the child's cognition or the processing skills, cognitive processing skills in that child is low. The child cannot read very well, cannot, no matter how much you try, you cannot read very well. You know, maybe the child has processing issues. Maybe the speed at which he takes in information is so slow. You know, these are clear signs. Maybe when the child knows something, in order to explain that thing that he knows is hard. You know, maybe the working memory of that child is very, very slow. Or maybe the child cannot even memorize anything. Do you understand? The issue is that all of these matters that we've listed, even undiagnosed learning disability, they will cause a child to do below his potential. That's just the thing. So all of these signs would cause a child to do below his potential, because no matter how much you try, there's nothing you can do. You cannot give what you don't have. So if a child's emotion is all over the place, you cannot concentrate in class. If the child's motivation is not intact, you cannot give what he doesn't have. If the child has a learning disability, you cannot give what he doesn't have. You understand the point? So if a child has cognitive processing issues and he has issues with processing what he has learned, he cannot give what he doesn't have. So you have to find out exactly where the issue is coming from and tackle it from there.
Child doing too much as a parent. In this part of the world, we don't do much of counseling or therapy and all of that. Specialist to consult. And know, because for many children who are struggling in school because they have learning difficulty. Now, because we are not experts, we don't know these things. I heard a parent is not even 14 years. She's next S2. Know that she's not more than 14. She's in some basic motor skills. 5 months.
Yes, I'm there. I can hear you.
As parents, what do we do to motivate our children? That it is emotional, it is okay, okay, okay. Thank you, friends. Now, what are the things we can put in different reasons? There are different reasons they actually struggle, or underachieve. But what is the them to get to where they are supposed to be, but at least they'll be able to move from one spot.
Okay, there are 5 things that a parent can do. There are 5 things, and I'm going to list them in order of importance. The first one is to get the child's agreement. Many times we want a child to do well, but they've not agreed to do well. They've not agreed to do well. So they will go out there and do just what they want to do. So it begins with, yes, for instance, this is a new session now. You can have a family meeting and say, Tochi, your grade last time was not so good. What are you going to do about that this time? This is what we think that we can do to support you. This is what you should also do. Come to an agreement on, the next line of action so that the child can do better. And then the child agrees that, okay, daddy, I will do this, mommy, I will do this, I'll read more, I'll do my assignments more. Your teacher complained that you don't normally do your assignment. Okay, I'll do my assignment now. You know, when a child agrees to do better, the chances are very high that that child will commit and do better. But many times we don't start with that. Now the next thing is to use techniques that work for your child. For instance, I've seen cases of parents. They have a particular child. If they don't beat him, he will not come and read his book. And they have other children that you don't have to tell them, they'll go and do their work. So those are two different techniques for those children. For instance, the one that wants to do the work without any nudge, you cannot you cannot treat that child the way you're going to treat the one that you have to nudge. Do you understand? So you have to use techniques that fit your child. And thirdly, you have to understand that they don't children don't improve i- magically. It happens slowly. Sometimes they do well today, tomorrow they may not do so well, next tomorrow they may do well again. They tend to drift, they tend to go on and off. But in between that on and off season, you have to encourage them. You have to help them, you have to contribute to them, to their success. You have to motivate them, depending on what motivates your child, that of course. Then the fourth one, understand that the child has what we call basic needs. Basic needs, meaning that there are some needs that a child has that are basic. Sometimes we don't even know those needs. Parents don't know those needs. This is how we classify it. We classify them by age, basic needs by age. For instance, a child between ages 0 to 7, their basic needs are play and social interactions. So if you have a child that is between the ages 0 to 7 and you want the child to read, please play with that child, encourage the child, interact with that child, and then you will see that they will do better. Now, from ages 7 to 14, the basic need is different. The basic need is feel good activities. These children want to they want to feel good. So a child between ages 7 to 14, you cannot make them feel bad all the time and expect them to do better. Don't even bother. Remember that many of them, they are teenagers. They have emotions, and they can label their emotions now. She understand. So if you want a child between ages 7 to 14 to do better, make them feel good more. Their personal belongings, let them have it. Don't try and poke nose into their activities too much. When I mean poke nose, I mean poke nose. Parents, sometimes parents can be you can be so much controlling that the child feels as if he's choked. So within that age, 7 to 14, just give them space. At the same time, of course, you be a parent, because it helps them feel good about themselves. For instance, a child between age 7 to 14, they want to look good, they want their uniform clean, they want it neat because their friends will talk about it. So they tend to, and this is age where bullying affects a child. So all of these things can cause a child to do poorly. She understand. If a child, for instance, if a child is below 7 and is bullied, it may not affect his academics, so long as there is play and interaction somewhere else. But if a child age 7 to 14 is bullied in school, it may affect the academics because feel good factor is out of the equation. I don't want to dwell much on that because I would take a lot of time. But just know that between ages 7 to 14, a child wants to feel good in as many ways as possible. So if you are able to do that for your child, they will do better. And lastly, they have skills that they lack. When a child is not doing well, please look out for the skills that they lack that is causing them not to do well. Look out for those skills. Many times it boils down to a particular skill that that child is lacking. For instance, if a child does poorly in a particular chore, maybe washing plates and so on, find out what skill that child is lacking. For instance, I know a situation whereby something is very common rather, where a child washes a plate and it's not clean all the time, no matter how much you try. Go and wash this plate. They will come back with it's not clean. And they will tell you they looked at it before they bring it to you. Now that child has issues, cognitive processing issues, if you look deeply. This is because when a child does such tasks, they're supposed to pay attention enough to check all parts of the plate before returning it to you. But they cannot do that because their attention is, drifting. Now, if a child shows such attention issues at home, go and check in school. The child has such issues too. So it's not just about your chores. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to skills that they lack at home, they probably lack. In fact, they definitely have that skill deficit in school too. So look out for the skills that they don't have. Let me face it again. Let me start all over again. Uh, have an agreement with your child. Use techniques that work. Now understand that children drift. Today they are okay, tomorrow they're not doing so well. Encourage them in between. You know, uh, praise them, do whatever it is that you can do to motivate them. Then they have basic needs according to their age. Provide those basic needs. Now from 14 to 21, the basic needs, I forgot to mention that, is self-respect. This is that age where a child begins to feel like I am my person. So they want to have self-respect. Give them opportunities for them to have self-respect and independence. And then lastly, check the skills that they lack that is causing them to be below your expectations.
Thank you so much. When you were talking about techniques, that an issue I had not too long ago, I've had it repeatedly though. So a parent, the child is struggling and all of that, and she reached out, she was angry, what they've done and all of that. And one of the things she has done in the past was register her children in this online class, all these U lesson or something like that. Something is it U lesson academia? That is what she registered her child. Now the other children were doing well. The cousin that inspired her was doing well. She had a cousin's child, the sibling's child who was struggling. Of that, the child's cousin who was struggling, and the parents registered them with I think U lesson or so. They did well, and she registered her child with that same U lesson. And I remember telling her that, see, your child and that child are not the same. They don't learn the same way. Your child, the fact that that one did well because of that doesn't mean your child will do well because of that. So they are not the same at all. You need to understand how your child learns and be able to work with that. So when we were talking about technique, I actually remember that. And before I could say anything, network had thrown me out. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. The questions are still very many, but we are, and I don't want this class to be too long. Thank you so much. I have learned a great deal. I've learned that tension, stress, and strain are some of the reasons why, as a parent, you don't teach your child, get a academy is to take you through a journey that will help you on your tension, strain, and stress and strain. So if you know you are not ready to become emotionally intelligent, please outsource teaching your child, whether home situations or where parents hit their children, flog them, yell, nag, even name call them in the name of teaching. And not, please move away from there. It is what it is. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again. Do you have any what is your final encouragement or statement or final thing you have to say to parents so that we can run with that? Final
Well, I want to
advice you
tell
have for
parents
parents.
Yes, I want to tell parents to model calmness.
Or is there any other thing you want to talk to us? If you have any other thing you want to talk to us about,
Well,
we are
not
here to
really.
hear.
No, not really.
Okay.
We don't want to bore these parents too
Okay,
with
go
too
on.
many strategies. Now, I want to say that parents should
Okay.
model calmness. Most of the times when children have issues and they want to walk through those issues, they don't know how to walk through it because their parents have not modeled, anything to them. So if you want them to be calm, model it. Become a calm person. If you want them to do well in school, you to begin to read books in their presence and begin to make efforts that can help them. So you have to model the behaviors that you want them to take up. Model it. If you want them to read in school, you to be a reader. If you want them to be calm with their younger ones, be calmer with them. If you want them to respect people, respect them. You understand? So it boils down to a lot of these things, and it helps us build a connection with them. And in fact, it is much easier if they see you doing something for them to copy you than for them to think of it on their own and do it. So, and that's because one of the strategies that are recommended for parents is what we call emphasis. Emphasis. Emphasis is like this is something that you do all the time. The child watches you do it and they become good at it, even without doing it themselves. They just watch you do it today, watch you do it tomorrow, watch you do it next week, watch you do it the next day. They somehow instinctively they become good at it. So that's how it.
Yeah.
So if you want them to do better, model it. Try and model it. Try and be a better person so that they can be a better person too.
Yeah. And they need that calmness to they need that calmness when they are struggling in school,
Yes.
struggle. They need that calmness. They need to be able to, because if you are not calm, most times you cannot reason. It is what it is. When you are tense, you are all over the place together. Thank you so much. Thank you. It has been 1 hour of learning. I do hope you have learned. Do you have any questions? Parents listening to us or watching us, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please ask. It's about how to motivate your child. We've talked a great deal. We've asked a lot of questions from why children struggle to learning and motivation to what parents can do to actually help their children when they struggle. We've talked a lot and we've learned a lot. So if you have any questions, please ask. So if you don't have any questions, thank you so much, ma, for coming. Can you tell us about yourself, maybe your social media handle and anything? If you want to follow you, we can follow you there.
Yes, my social media handle is Asuni Lady Zeal. For YouTube, Asuni Lady Zeal. For Facebook, it's just Lady Zeal. But just search Asuni Lady Zeal. Even on Google, you'll find me all over the place there. Asuni, ASUNI,
All right.
Lady Zeal, LADYZEAL. Yes. I also teach on
Thank you.
Alison. I
Thank you
have
so
courses on
much.
Alison.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank, thank you. And I already made a post earlier. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you. Call you next time. You will also hear us. Thank you so much, man. Bye bye.
Yes, my pleasure.